Think of Fiat's cars and probably the first thing that will come to mind will be the ubiquitous retro chic Fiat 500. After that, maybe the cuddly cult favourite, the Panda, and oh yeah, don't they do one of those top-down sports car roadster things these days? Well, yes they do, and now they've also got the Tipo, but compared to Fiat's other stylish and funky cars, the Tipo is more about no frills, value for money practicality. And if getting the absolute most for your hard-earned money is your concern, then surely it makes sense to opt for the station wagon estate, which costs just £1,000 more than the hatchback, right? Now, we have already, of course, reviewed the Tipo, at least in hatchback form, which is virtually identical to the estate, save for the extra bit of boot room. If you'd like to watch that video, you can, of course, do so by clicking on the link that should appear on your screen sometime around now. The fact that it's exactly like the hatchback means that the estate inherits exactly the same good and bad points. Good points? Well, there's plenty of space, visibility is decent, and it also comes with a decent amount of standard equipment like air conditioning, DAB radio, and a multimedia screen. Bad points? Well, there are a few, but of course you always have to temper this with the fact that the Tipo starts from just £12,995, which means that it undercuts many of its rivals by at least £2 to £3 grand. Still, the design isn't great and the materials aren't great either. In particular, this fake leather trim here is pretty dodgy in terms of quality, even on this range top and lounge trim, which starts from £17,995. There are plenty of niceties like cruise control and integrated sat-nav, however this small 5-inch touchscreen can be unresponsive to use and is also sometimes hard to make out details in. All in all, the Tipo might be cheaper than rivals, but it also significantly lags behind them in terms of quality. Does that matter though? I mean, at the end of the day, nobody's going to get into one of these and expect Mercedes-Benz quality. And while it is kind of rough around the edges, at least you do get plenty of space for your money. You see, this is where I think that the estate has the edge over the hatchback. Sure, it's no frills, but you do get plenty of room. These rear seats here are really comfortable, and there's more than enough leg, head and shoulder room for all the family. Naturally, the boot is bigger as well, with 550 litres of space, which is 110 more than the hatchback. Fold the rear seats down and you can fit items nearly 2 metres long in, while there's also underfloor storage and extra storage points here in the side. The upswing, of course, of all those slightly low-rent materials means that if, for example, you have dogs that you regularly take on a walk, you can keep them in the back and not worry about getting mud splattered all over your nice, expensive leather. Well, it stands to reason that the estate version of the Tipo drives pretty much exactly like the hatchback does, and that's true. So that means fairly measured process. It's certainly not the most dynamic car in the world, but the fact that it's comfortable and easy to drive will likely matter more to buyers than any lack of handling prowess. There's a total of 5 different engine choices for the Tipo, which includes 3 petrols and 2 diesels, but it's the best-selling 118 brake horsepower 1.6 litre diesel that we've got here. It's an engine that crops up again and again in Fiat Chrysler vehicles, and although it's not the most powerful thing in the world, it is torquey enough, which means that you can keep up with the flow of traffic with no problems. It's not as refined as you might expect though. You can sort of hear the engine tick and rattle underneath the bonnet, while it also suffers from a lot of wind and tyre noise, which means that the Tipo isn't as adept at motorway cruising as many of its rivals. There are plenty of better cars to drive out there, in other words, however it does get the job done. Fiat also says that it's pretty economical. On paper it can return up to 76.3 miles per gallon with 98 grams per kilometre of CO2. However, after having it for a week and after some pretty hefty motorway miles, we've struggled to crack into the 50s. It's capable in many areas and reasonably cost effective as well, but overall we'd say just not to expect too much from the Fiat Tipo. If we were to spec one for ourselves, we would definitely go with the station wagon estate over the hatchback, but we'd probably also skip the top trims. That way you do get a big family estate that's more practical than many of its rivals for quite a bit less money as well. That said, if absolute all-out bare-bones practicality is all you care about, the Dacia Logan does start from roughly, well, half the price. So, well, what do you think? Let us know in the comments section below. And in the meantime, if you would like to know more about this car, you can click on the link that's on your screen now. To watch another Car Keys video, click the other link, and if you haven't subscribed yet, well, what are you waiting for? Anyway, I'm going to top up my tan if you don't mind.